How's it going, folks? So, just gonna talk through a weekly outlook here, break it down monthly, 4 hour. Um, Basically, price has been so bullish lately, so not really much to talk about in terms of within this candle because I need structure to form. So, what I'm mainly going to be focusing on is what's left. From a higher time frame and a monthly perspective, this is 193 is sort of the target for me in terms of my higher time frame outlook. And kind of similar to when we were trading down here, was looking left and was saying, well, where's price trading within? Sort of, we were trading within this zone. We come in, we come out, come back in, price closed within, pull down, held support at the bottom of the zone or the range, and then we sort of got the continuation up. So now that we've left this zone, what I'm paying attention to is, well, what current zone are we in on the higher time frame looking left? Essentially, it's difficult to say, to create an outlook and to create where's buys and sells make sense from, because there's no real structure here on the 4 hour, on the daily. It's just been so much upside. So that is one of the main things that needs to happen, is structure then needs to develop. But at the minute, all I can sort of work off is what's left on the higher time frame, and the sort of zone and range I'm paying attention to is this resistance up at 186, and this support down at 176. And the reason I'm paying attention to this is because we can clearly see that when we break out of the previous range, we pull up and form a resistance, pull down and form a higher support respecting the previous range. So now we've created a new range above the previous range. Prices then formed this little lower resistance, pull down, we've broken above, and then as prices came back into this zone, I treat this as if it's a 30-minute time frame. If we close back within the zone and hold lower resistance within the zone, it makes sense to test the opposite end of the range, which price does. So this tells me that this zone, especially the resistance up here, is quite significant. Now, this is from 2015. So whether that's going to be significant in today's time and date is, I have no clue. But that's sort of what I can go based off, and sort of based on, if I'm trading in and around here, I could maybe look at these levels for targets and stuff. So that's mainly what I'm paying attention to. I know that we're trading within this zone, so what I would prefer to see is price being able to hold support within this zone. Now this is a monthly time frame, so it could be that something similar could happen, where there could be so much downside that we have a bearish month or 2 bearish months or 3. But as long as price can hold support above 176,800 and 175,600 on the higher time frames, I'm very much bullish. If I just go left again and say, well, look, after this big bearish month in January 2015, which engulfs the previous 2 months, you could say, oh, we're so bearish, sales make sense, but we then respect the previous structure and hold support above, then get further upside. So now that we have left this zone within here, you could say we've left our previous range here, I need to see a new range established above, and I'm going to be looking for price to hold above this support. So whether we just work down and continue, or whether it takes months or weeks for price to establish support within here, because again, on the weekly and on the daily, there is no structure. So that's more so what I'm going to be paying attention to. If price comes all the way down here and there maybe is change in structure, for instance, like back above this zone, something like that, then that's going to give me a really good indication that I could potentially play higher time frame, maybe weekly or daily idea, to basically play this whole range, which could be a very higher time frame idea. Not to say that like it's an option, not to say I could, but that's sort of the thought process from a higher time frame for me. I'm looking to fill this range, and there is a possibility that we don't even get any retracement. You know, the next candle could just form like it has formed the previous week, and we just have something like that. I know that's meant to be like that there, and that could fill that because we're heavily bullish, but it is a monthly, it is a higher time frame. It's going to take a lot longer to develop potentially. But that's the main thing I'm playing of, is like, well, we're heavily bullish with no real structure. Looking left, what range are we in? Right, for me to see further upside, I need to stay above this support. That's it. As easy as that. What happens in here, I don't really care. But I'm going to be looking for structure to hold higher supports, that sort of stuff. And obviously the breakdown of structure within here can give me options to sell down, so that is the main thing. We've closed inside this higher time frame range. Now what do we do? So that's the main thing I'm going to be paying attention to. And of course, looking at this from an actual range perspective itself, on the higher time frame, you could essentially say this is the range that we're playing in on the monthly, on the higher time frame. So we're now above the mid-range, which is where we were previously within this structure point, this range point. And the fact that we're trading above that, you could even go as far as saying, well, as long as we remain above the mid-range of the higher time frame monthly, then we're still good for upside. So if I just, for instance, say that this is the mid-range, right? You can clearly see that when price gets above, we hold support above, which is also previous structure, continue up, we close below the mid-range, pull back, lower resistance, come to the bottom, and then of course we've stayed below. And now that we're above, you can clearly see that we had some areas here that has reacted. We then came above, came back below, now we're above, and now we're continuing. So you could even go as far as saying, well, as long as price is above the mid-range, so where I'm looking for price to remain above based on structure looking left, price could even come as far as 163, 164, and it could still be very much bullish on the higher time frame, right? This support here, given it's the most recent support down at 157, 500, 158, technically we're still very much bullish until this support is breached, right? And you look how far that is and how much pips that is. You could have 4 bearish months and it's still bullish, higher time frame. So that's all I'm going to discuss really, because there's not much structure on the lower time frames, not much to break down. So that's just sort of more my thoughts on the bigger picture, the bigger scale, and the higher time frame.